Hey there, everybody. Happy Monday. Hope you guys are doing great. And it's pretty yucky here today, but I guess we're getting a little bit of the rain from the hurricanes. And while I'm talking about those, I hope everybody is safe, and my prayers are with you. So I know that it'll be a long process to kind of recover from all of that, but you are in my prayers. So I'm sorry for all that you're having to go through, and hopefully everybody that you know is safe as well. We will give just a couple of minutes to get this going. I am going to try to share here. Let's see. And I am fixing to share with you what I am drinking. It's pretty yummy too. Like really yummy. I know that pumpkin spice is like everywhere right now, and I make my own and hope that you guys will too. And next week I will actually on my blog post share a little recipe for a homemade pumpkin spice latte, which is a lot lower in sugar, a lot, and it's a lot better for you than what you get at the chain. Not saying that I don't drink one of those a year, one or two, but I do make my own quite often, a lot more often than I would go and purchase one. Because they're a lot better for you. So we'll wait a couple of more minutes and see if anybody joins. If not, I'll still get with it. I'm going to talk about overeating today. And if you've ever overeaten at meals, and if you're human, you probably have. If for nothing else, you've probably done it at holidays and maybe special occasions like birthdays and stuff like that. So we'll dive in here in just a minute. But here, and my bubbles have kind of gotten gross. I don't know if you can see them, but oh, and my retro mug. Isn't it cute? I love Christmas mugs. And it says, "Here comes Santa Claus." And I don't like it that you guys see things like in a mirror when I'm on my phone. I like having my webcam on my computer because you guys can actually read what I have or what I hold up. But this is my pumpkin spice latte, and I will share that recipe next week once I get that blog post up and going. Oh, and it's so good. It's really good on this nasty day outside. I like to have my coffee and some cozy pants, and sweatshirt is preferably my attire when the weather is like this. But coffee gives me a little bit of warmth and coziness that I like to see. So hey, Kason, glad you're here. And it looks like we've got a couple of people on, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start talking about overeating. And I will also send you guys to, I'll give you my blog post so that you can go and check it out at the end if you want to. And it makes it sometimes a lot easier to read whenever people are reading. They like to read and they retain it just a little bit better. So I am putting that link there just in case you want to go see and read for yourself later. If you have to jump off, that's okay. Head over to the post. You can read what I'm talking about. But I do want to talk about that overeating because I know that we all fall prey to it. And occasionally that's okay. You know, I'm one that it's like I will eat. Hey, Mandy, glad you joined. I will do it usually around the holidays. I've gotten to where I can kind of control myself just a little bit more during special occasions like birthdays or something like that. But I will typically around the holidays like Thanksgiving, mainly Christmas, sometimes Easter, I'll eat a little bit more than I typically would eat in a meal. And, it's one of those things that it's so good and you're probably so hungry when you go into it that you're shoveling it all in. You're not really tasting it, but you're smelling it. You're kind of tasting it. And then once you finish, it's Halloween candy. Yeah, that's not my pitfall, but if that's your pitfall, yes, you can typically overeat with Halloween candy too. But it's just kind of like you sit back and you're like, and then it starts growing in your stomach. So once it starts growing, that's when you get that uncomfortable feeling, and you might feel bloated, you might feel gassy, you might need to unbutton your pants or unzip them, or you might even do like Joey on Friends and go to the go to the Thanksgiving table with your sweatpants on, or I think he had maternity pants on so that he could let his belly expand and not feel the pressure from buttoned up pants. But sometimes, like I said, occasionally it's going to happen. But when it becomes routine, when it becomes every day, when it becomes, okay, every meal, and you can't hold yourself back, that's when you can start getting into problems, and that's what can lead to weight gain. So I want to give you just a few tips that might help you not overeat quite as frequently, and maybe save it for that special occasion when something's homemade. And it's going to be a lot better than just stopping by. Make it worth it. If you're going to eat a little bit more, make it worth it. Is it really worth it? I mean, I'm not knocking Walmart, but is their cake really worth overindulging on? I mean, yeah, I've eaten it and I've had a slice here and there, but if it's homemade, if somebody really made it and they put that love and that effort into it, then tell yourself, okay, I can indulge. But if it came from the store, if it came from a box, think about it. Think about, is it really worth what you're going to feel like later? Because most of the time, if you, no cake. I like cake. I like carrot cake and red velvet cake. I think those are my two yummies. I think more the cream cheese icing than it is the cake, actually, but I do like those two. But and it may be pies, it may be the Halloween candy like you mentioned, it may be whatever, but something homemade is going to be so much better than if it was just made in a factory and shipped down the line and then frozen and then put on the shelf. So, keep that in mind too. Think about those things whenever you're going to places and you might have that tendency to overeat. Let's see. Do you use weakness as an excuse? Do you go into a situation saying that you don't have control? Do you set yourself up for failure? Talk yourself up before you go into these situations, before you go to the party, before you go to your grandma's or your aunt's or wherever, aunt, whatever you say, before you go to a neighbor's house or a cookout or a picnic or church function or whatever it may be. Talk yourself up. Don't tell yourself that you're going to fail. Tell yourself that, you've got this. You can go into this, give yourself, if you have a certain dish that is liked, then give yourself permission to do that, but own it. Step up and own it. We do need mindfulness, and that is one thing that I will, yes, you're great. You're hitting my points before I even get to them. But yes, before, check in. check in here. Don't go hungry. That is one of the worst things to do ever, is to go somewhere hungry. Going shopping, even going to the grocery store hungry, is setting yourself up for disaster. You're going to pay a lot more at the grocery store too if you go and your tummy is empty, because you see things and it triggers something up there in the brain, and you're going to buy a lot more. So it's a lot better for your grocery bill too if you go shopping on a full stomach. Just a FYI tip there. Sorry. Water, number one. Make sure that you are hydrated. And a lot of times we feel that beginning of a growl in our stomach. And usually it's not hunger. Not all the time, not saying. Now if the hunger pangs or the growling persists, then I'm losing connection here, so I'm hoping that I'm back on. But drink a glass of water 20 to 30 minutes before your meal. You don't need to drink a lot while you're eating, because it dilutes those stomach juices that help you digest the food. But a good 30 minutes before you are going to eat, have you a glass, 16, 20 ounces if you want to, and you're going to go in hydrated, so you're not going to feel more of those hunger pangs, and it's going to fill up your stomach just a little bit. So that's a great tip, is to get that water in. And plus, you'll be adding a little bit more to your intake for the day as well. Next, like Kason said, mindfulness. We need to be so mindful of what we're eating. When you go to an event or when you go to somebody's house, you're not just going for the food. You are going to spend time with family, to spend time with friends. If you're going to a restaurant, it can be the ambiance. There may be, it may just be a relaxing time for you because you don't have to cook. So beware. Think about everything. Think about the smells of the food. Think about the taste of the food, the texture of the food. Bread fills you up faster. Yeah, it does. But when you have type 2 diabetes, that's not going to be good. Water will fill you up, whether you think so or not. That's where the mind game does come in. And the bread it actually is going to raise your blood sugar a lot quicker, which is going to lead to a sugar crash sooner rather than later. So you're better off, if you can, skip the bread basket. I don't always skip the bread basket, but because I love bread. That is a downfall of mine. But if you are going to get your protein and your veggies and your healthy carbs, like your sweet potatoes or your rice or something like that, you're better off to eat those things in a well-rounded meal, which is going to keep you satisfied for a lot longer than if you do try to fill up on the bread. The bread's not going to be, for the most part, Kason, you're right. But there are types that don't affect your blood sugar quite as badly. But when you have the white refined pastas, breads, cakes, things like that, your blood sugar will go out the roof. And like I said, that blood sugar is going to come crashing back down a couple hours later. Then you may have that brain fog. You may have the hunger pangs again. You're not going to stay full as long. So if you're going to eat bread, like this morning I had some Ezekiel bread. A lot of people say it has stuff in it. I don't like it. I don't want to chew it. And I'm like, but it's going to stay in your system longer. It's going to be harder it's going to take longer for your stomach to break it down and digest it. So it's going to stay with you quite a bit longer than that white bread, which actually has a higher glycemic index than table sugar. Just a little tidbit right there that you might want to think about. So when you're eating and you're sitting down, I want you to start smelling the food. Think about what it took for somebody to, a lot of families eat a lot of pasta. It is cheap. So are beans, and beans are better for you than, so if it's cheap that you're needing, you're going to be better off with something like beans, which are going to have a little protein to them too, and they're going to be filling and have a lot more nutrition to them than the breads and the pastas. So, but I can go on and on about that, and maybe I will do a Facebook Live about, it doesn't really cost more to eat healthy, because when you eat healthy and you eat those foods and you don't eat those refined foods, you're actually going to eat less, because they are filling. But the next time you go and you sit down and you have that meal, think about it. Think about that smell. When you take that bite, think about the taste. Don't just shovel it in. It should take you more than 10 minutes to eat your dinner. You shouldn't chew a couple of times and swallow. You shouldn't inhale that food. Savor it. Think about the flavors that are in it. I play a game with myself sometimes, and sometimes I'll even ask my girls if they can pick out the spices that were used in that meal. And sometimes you're like, ooh, I know what that is, but I can't remember. It may be like, oh, what is it? And you'll eventually get better if you become, have a close relationship with those spices that are in your cabinets, or if they're not in your cabinets, you may want to get some, because it really enhances the flavor of your foods. So, once you're tasting, you need to chew. Put down the dang fork in between bites. That food's not going anywhere. It is not running off your plate. You probably have people around you, so you want to enjoy the time that you have with them. Talk to them. If you're constantly having to hold your hand up in front of your mouth because you've got food in it, then maybe you should take a little more time and put down that fork and have a conversation. It will allow your stomach to catch up. That catch-up game that I was talking about earlier, where you eat so fast, then you sit down and 20 minutes later, you're like, oh, the food just grew. It didn't really just grow. And I do address that in the blog post and talk about how long it actually takes for the brain to be triggered. Sorry. I'm almost over the sinus crud that I had, but it's still hanging around. So I apologize for my coughs. It's really getting in and thinking and being present. Don't sit in front of the computer or the TV or something like that whenever you're eating, because it distracts you. I address that a little bit more in the blog post too, because you do need to be right here with that plate in front of you, maybe with a few people surrounding you. If you eat by yourself, I've eaten in the car by myself, and there's nothing wrong with that, because it actually helps me get away to close out the noise that's going on outside. And I can sit there and I can think. I will sometimes turn on the radio and listen to some relaxing music to kind of help me get in the mood. And when you eat mindfully, it helps your digestion so much. So I really, really encourage you guys to start thinking about using mindfulness around eating your meals. And good old veggies is my last tip. Start with them, always, because they're nutrient dense. They've got so many vitamins and minerals and antioxidants, which help fight off those free radicals that we have. And I can't speak enough. And like I've said in a couple of my posts, I didn't start out eating as many vegetables as I eat today. And if you aren't a vegetable eater and you go out and you start eating tons of veggies, I got news for you, because you're going to have so much gas that it ain't going to be funny, and nobody's going to want to be around you. So gradually increase those veggies. Make them a variety of veggies. If you're a veggie hater, find a few that you like so that you can kind of cycle them until you get tired of them, and then you can rotate them. And even though I love salads and I encourage people to eat salads because they are fibrous, they don't have as much nutrition to them as things like your broccoli and your cauliflower, green beans, okra, peppers. Corn is not a veggie, sorry. It's not. And neither are sweet potatoes or potatoes. Those fall into the starchy or the carb category. Let's see, what else? Peas, they're more starchy. Carrots are a vegetable, but they're more starchy. I know tomatoes are a fruit, but I do count them as my veggies. So if you're out somewhere and you're order a side salad, forego the dressing or get it on the side so that you can control how much you put on there, because most of the time it's a little bit of salad with a whole lot of dressing is what it is. And it needs to be a whole lot of salad and a little bit of dressing. Or you can ask for oil and vinegar so that you can control that, give it more flavor. You do need a little bit of healthy fats, but if you're eating a meal, you're going to get some fats there so that your body can absorb the nutrients. But one thing that I recommend is start upping your vegetable intake a little bit at a time until at least half of that plate is veggies. Oh, asparagus, yes, and roasted Brussels. I actually had roasted Brussels sprouts this weekend. I don't know why I didn't think about that, but asparagus is so yummy too. I could probably eat a meal of just those two. I love them. A little lemon drizzled on there with some salt and pepper is absolutely phenomenal. So, hey, Sherry, glad you could join us. And since you're coming in kind of at the end, you can go back, watch the video, share the video, and I've also posted my blog post that I'm talking about. So if you want to read instead of watch the video, you can do that. But yes, definitely get in those veggies. Don't cook them till they're mush. Onions are veggies? Yeah, I eat onions quite a lot. I use them more for flavor. But okay, so if I were to make a salad, which I make a monstrosity of a salad, and so big, I mean, people think that I'm joking when I say go all out and go get those veggies in with a salad. And I'm not talking about like a salad that you would get at a restaurant as an appetizer, because those are just like tiny, and I'm actually disappointed by most people's servings of salads in restaurants, and I ask for extra greens on the side when I get a salad. But I'll do my darker greens, because your darker greens are going to have more nutrition to them. And then I will put things like purple onions, tomatoes, bell peppers, usually red and yellow, sometimes green. Oh, I love veggies too, Sherry. Oh, I like sauteed onions too, Kason. I do mushrooms. Let's see. I will actually put roasted veggies on a salad. So if I have leftover roasted broccoli or cauliflower, I'll throw that on there. Sometimes I'll have a little bit of roasted butternut squash, which is, it's still a starch, but I put it in there for a little bit of flavor. And zucchini. Sometimes I'll shred zucchini and put it on there. It's pretty yummy. If you have it roasted, you can throw that on there too. So, salads aren't just for raw veggies. You can put some cooked veggies on there as well and give it a little flavor. Then I'll put, what kind of dressings? If I buy my dressings, typically I buy Tessemae's and Primal Kitchen. Those are the two that I will usually purchase. You can make your own for so cheap that it's ridiculous. If you will mix up some olive oil, and I talked about some of my healthy fats in my last video, so if you didn't catch that one, go back and watch it. I've actually blended up avocado with a little bit of oil and some lemon juice, salt and pepper, good to go. Apple cider vinegar or balsamic vinegar and olive oil, shake them up, salt and pepper, oregano, and you're good to go. Lemon juice and some olive oil, salt and pepper, some lemon pepper seasoning if you like, and shake them up, and you're good to go. You can also, one that I like to do is olive oil, puree a little bit of strawberries in there, and balsamic vinegar, and you have a strawberry balsamic vinaigrette, and it's pretty yummy. And then you don't have to worry about all of the additives and preservatives that may be thrown in there. You have your good oils, and it's cheap. It's so cheap to make your own dressing. So, and if you don't want to make up a big batch, just drizzle it over your salad. You can even drizzle it over your veggies, your steamed veggies. So, you know, that's a good dressing even for veggies. It's a dip if you want to use those things as a dip. Things like ranch can get a little more complex as far as making them. So I usually try to stick to just the vinaigrettes that I make myself. So those are some tips for getting your veggies in, but everybody needs to eat more veggies. Sorry, you just do. And I'm not talking about, you know, something that would fit in your hand. that's not veggies. Up 'em at every meal, even breakfast. This morning I had about 3 cups of steamed kale with my avocado toast and egg. And if I'm doing smoothies, I will throw some spinach in there. If I'm at a meal, there's rarely a meal that I have that I don't have veggies, because one, they're going to fill you up a lot quicker. They're full of fiber and they're full of water. So you're going to get a lot of benefits from that. And also, if you guys don't like water, because I know so many people don't like just plain old water. I've gotten used to it. I know Sherry's gotten used to it over time, but a lot of people say that they just can't chug it down. And one, you're not supposed to chug it. You're supposed to sip on it throughout the day to stay hydrated. And another thing is I've listed some infused waters on the blog post that I've linked to this video. So, you know, you can go there, and that little recipe actually has a link to another full blog post that I did, all on different kinds of infused and flavored waters, because they can help you until you get used to drinking so much water. And yeah, you'll pee. So what? You know, it says I'm having a low connection. So if I'm fuzzy or cutting up, I'm sorry. I'm not a ranch girl either, Kason. I'm not really an Italian either. I just kind of like my apple cider vinegar, olive oil, and a little balsamic to add to it too. I'm pretty simple in that way. I do from time to time like a homemade Thousand Island. I know it's got tons of sugar. A tip that I use and that I've used forever is I will get the salad dressing on the side, dip my fork in there, and that way if you're going to eat something like that, you don't eat near as much. So I just want to thank you guys for coming today and joining me. I love the conversation. I love you guys asking questions, giving comments. If you have any ideas that you want to see me talk about in the future, send me a message. Let me know. That way I can kind of put them in like I have a little spreadsheet that I have for ideas. And so if you want me to talk about something specific, you know, I may have to do a little bit of digging before I do it. So give me a heads up, and I would love to know what you guys want to hear about so that I can do my research, find the stuff, and get back to you if I don't know about it. But thanks so much for joining me today. Go back and watch the video if you've not. Share it with people. This pumpkin spice latte recipe will be out next week, and I really think you're going to like it. No, it's not all sugary like your Starbucks, but it's a lot better for you. It tastes pretty dang good. Hope you guys have a great Monday. Get at it. You've got it. it's, don't let one day or the weekend get you down. Start working a little bit towards your health goals. And once you take one step at a time, those can become a habits. Those can become your lifestyle. So don't beat yourself up. Have a wonderful Monday. Love you guys, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.